Hello parents, my name is Jeremy Davis. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Innovation and Instructional Support here in the Fullerton School District. We're also known as IIS, if you've ever heard of that. We're the technology department, but also educational technology, digital wellness, cybersecurity, all the power school data, things like that. That's what we do here. So today, I'm going to be walking you through a presentation that I've done at a number of schools, but we wanted to create this presentation in a way that PTAs could show it, or it could just be sent home for people to watch. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I hope you enjoy. So you'll notice throughout this presentation some pictures and photos. You might think, well, that's odd. What does that look like? Maybe somebody's hand doesn't look exactly right, or their foot looks a little strange. That's because we've used artificial intelligence for pretty much every picture you're going to see. And it's just a fun way to go to a program like DALL-E or ChatGPT or Stable Diffusion and just type in, something like, I need a scene of a family using iPads in their living room. And then you can, have some fun creating images. So we did that for this presentation. All right, so we're going to talk about, actually I'm going to go back a slide, digital wellness. What does that mean? For us, our board of trustees said, we'd really like to have online safety be a significant part of what we do here in the district. And we've done it for years. We've been Common Sense Media certified for the last 6 years, meaning that all of our teachers teach our students digital citizenship lessons, how to be a great citizen online, but also how to stay safe online, how not to bully, things like that. But we wanted to add more to that, so the board requested that, and how we see it in talking with everyone was sort of what does that mean, online safety? Well, for some people that means better appliances and better equipment, better filters for the students, so they can't see certain things when they click places. For some, it means more lessons and more, for some it meant, let's help our parents, let's make sure our parents are educated. So when you hear the term digital wellness, it means a little bit of everything. Any way we can help educate students or parents, help guide our teachers, and help protect everyone's data and protect everyone's learning experience while they're online. So it sort of covers a little bit of everything. But for this presentation, it's really for the parents. So first thing we really want to talk about is keeping that healthy balance. So we're going to show you later a little bit about how to control your student's iPad when you're at home, because you can do that. But we really encourage you as parents to keep a balance in multiple ways. One is outside time. We want kids running around, playing, getting that sunshine out there, interacting face-to-face with other students. There's sort of a bit of an epidemic, tough word to use, but there's a problem in society that people are finding that students who spent too much time not doing face-to-face communication are really struggling when they get to that first job interview, or even when they interview for colleges, making eye contact, having a firm handshake, finding humor, being able to really carry on a conversation because they're so used to texting. And so really important when you talk about healthy balance, there's screen time versus other time. But not only what type of screen time, a lot of these studies you see where it talks about the negativity of screen time, it's usually been based on things like watching television or watching a movie on the tablet. It hasn't always been based on being creative. So if you think about the balance of creativity versus just consumption, which we'll talk about in a bit, that's also a way to keep a healthy balance as a family. But a really important part of keeping a healthy balance is you understanding where your students are going. What are they doing on their devices? And are you modeling for them? Often at dinner time, my wife and I find ourselves really needing to make an emphasis of taking our phones out, putting them face down in the middle of the table, and asking our kids to do the same. At the moment, I have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. But even now, even when he's an adult, it's like, hey, everybody phones out, face down, let's have a meal together. Same thing when we're at restaurants, no phones out, no phones allowed. But then I'll suddenly get a text from work and I get my phone out and I realize, nope, I should not be doing that. I should be modeling. But let's talk about parental controls. How could you control your student's device? Because we'll talk in a little bit about how you can control our devices at home and how we control those devices. We have no ability to do anything with the phones you've given your child or with devices you have in your own home. So we want to talk a little bit about, there's multiple layers of how you can control those devices at home. One is your phone. So the Android phones have something called Family Link that you can turn on. And if you want to know more about Family Link, I would go to Bing or your favorite internet search and type in, how do I use Family Link on Android? If we did that ourselves and found you a link or a YouTube video, it might be out of date within a month. And this video we'd have to redo it and redo the links and tell you, here, click here, do this. So we always suggest going to your favorite internet browser and your favorite internet search bar and typing things in like, how would I control my Android phones for my teens? And you'll get a whole bunch of articles to read and blogs to look through, and you'll decide what's best for you. So Family Link is built into Android. And on the iPhone, you have built-in iPhone parental controls, which is called screen time. So you are allowed on the iPhone. Now you can't do this on our iPads because it actually causes a security problem for us, having 12,000 devices being controlled. But you can do screen time on an iPhone you have in your home for your students. So that's first level, what comes from the manufacturer. So we have the iPhone controls, you have the Android controls, but then you want to go deeper. You want to say, well, I actually would like to do more than what's allowed just by the manufacturer or by whoever made the operating system. So where we want to take you is to our FSD Digital Wellness webpage. Okay, so I'm going to click here, and the way you would get here is you click on the Parents menu at the top of our district website. Or as we change the website, anywhere you find that word Parents, you will have this link. So you click on the Parents menu, and then you click on Internet Safety. And that takes you to our Parent Internet Safety page. This video will be located here at some point, and we change this constantly, so there will be new things all the time that come up. So what we want to take you to is Parental Control Resources, right here on the right. So when I click here, what I find is we have screen guide tutorials, how to translate captions on screen guides. You say, well, what is this? What this is the iPads at home. So when you take our iPads to your home, you can control them from 6:30 p.m. till 6 a.m. and then all weekend long. If you go to your school's website, click under Parents, and then click Control Your Student's iPad at Home, you'll have a whole instruction sheet in multiple languages of exactly how to turn this on with your personal phone. And then you can come back here for tutorial videos on how to use each little piece of that. Okay? And if your school would like, I can come out and do a parent night on how to do these controls and how to work on that. But also down here is really important. Great links to resources on how to control your student's device. So the bottom one is that says Parental Control Apps, and then this one, Setting Parental Controls on Mobile Phones by Provider. This is sort of your second level. So remember, first level is Android and Apple have something built in. You can do that. There's sort of a basic level of control. The next level is, if you click here, we have links for AT&T, Cricket, T-Mobile, and Verizon. So your carrier also has some apps. So if you click here, I'm Verizon, so I'll click there. Verizon Smart Family has all these links on how do I access this app, what does it do, how do I use it, and often these are free, and they might have something you can pay for that's a little bit more and has a few more features, things like Life 360 or something like that. But we wanted to give you a link, again, that shows you each of these controls by their mobile provider. Okay. So when I go back, there's another link here under these parental control resources that's important. And these are like guides to parental controls. You should, again, not just look at ours. So when you come back here, there's also these other things at the bottom here. One is Common Sense Media's Guide to Parental Controls. I love Common Sense Media. They're a great website. So if I click on it, this is more them telling you the why. Why would you want to block? Things like that. They've got some links, but I'm a huge fan of Common Sense Media. They have a great website, and you can see across the top, like movie reviews, TV, books, games. When my kids were a little younger and my son wanted to play a certain video game, I would come here and I would search for that game because I wanted to find out, is it realistic violence? Is he shooting aliens or is he shooting people? Because I might not want him shooting people. And again, that's all age dependent, and you as a parent have to make those decisions. But even TV or movies, it will tell you, oh, yeah, this movie has alcohol, violence, drugs. These are the swear words that are used. This is the nudity in this film. Whatever it is, they do a great job of reviewing tons of films so you can decide if you want your child to watch that television show or to see that movie before you send them off with their friends to do so. But back to our site, there's another thing that we highly suggest when you do parental controls, and that is just to go to any internet source, your favorite, and type in, phone parental controls for teens or for tweens. We've linked this CNN article. It's pretty good, but we don't want you just to use this one. This is just an example. So when you go here, it's going to tell you what do they like. They like Kaspersky, and they'll tell you why they like it. Okay, but you go down, it'll, what do you do? How do you keep them online? What do you do? There's a blog post from the Mayo Clinic that they talk about that. How did they test? And then what else did they test? And they'll tell you whether it's good or not. I personally used Custodio. It's Custodio. It's not the easiest to say, but Custodio Premium Basic. I used this for a while. In my case, I told both of my kids pretty early on, there's a lot of trust here, and I will only turn this software on when I need it because someone has broken my trust. So there was a case where one of my children did break my trust, and therefore we turned on some tracking software, and then it led to some greater discussions. But one still hasn't broken my trust, and we've never actually put the software on. But we still take the phone every now and then and say, hey, let's go through your history together. Or let's see what kind of apps you've loaded. Or I want to go through your photos and see what you're doing. Or I want to go through your texts. We'll talk in a little bit about contracts that you probably want to put in place with your kids so there's no questioning when you ask for that phone. Okay? So again, going back to digital wellness for parents, we want to talk a little bit about using technology as a tool because tech isn't bad. I will tell you, it's my entire career has been in technology, and pretty much everything you do is tied to technology in some way, and therefore we want to embrace it, but we want to be safe with it and safe about it. So, what should you know about screen time? There's this big argument a few years ago, a study came out called the National Educational Technology Plan, and they talked less about the digital divide. We're at a point now where almost everybody has internet at their homes. The new divide is between creating and consuming. Is your child just watching a video like Netflix, or is the child actually creating their own movies using iMovie or Snap or some kind of app to actually be creative on the device? And then what does that look like inside the child's brain if they're really engaged in creation versus are they just doing a consumption model? I mean, if you know what Minecraft is, I'm a big fan of Minecraft. Minecraft, we have a picture coming up in just a little bit. Minecraft allows you to build entire worlds, which I love because it's creative versus Candy Crush, not maybe a little bit more brain activity than staring at Netflix, but not what you get in Minecraft where you have full creation occurring. So when you're looking at structuring your tech use in your home, I would have schedules. I would have time they're allowed to actually okay, when you're done with your homework, let me know. And then we have X amount of time. Well, are we going to go outside and play as a family? Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to walk the dogs? Are we going to exercise? That's a big one. And what does our schedule look like? What is our bedtime? And then, of course, where do we keep the device is vital. I went to Amazon and bought this little charging station that had, slots for like 8 devices in it. So in my room, in our bedroom, I could look up at any point in time and I would know whose device was there and whose wasn't because everybody had a slot. So if it was bedtime, they knew, okay, at 9:30, all devices are back unless they were still doing homework. And if not, we'd say, okay, it's time to gather. We do in sort of an evening time right before we all go to bed or right before they go to bed. And they knew they had to bring devices in and had to be charging in its slots. So knowing where the device is important. But also, if you're struggling with your child using it too much, maybe you're not home when they get home, There are obviously ways to keep it at night, or if somebody's maybe sneaking back into your room and grabbing that device, which you don't want to have happen. You can lock the door, you can buy safe, but there are ways for you as a parent to control this, because the phones are your devices. They're not the students, they're yours. You own them, you pay for the phone, you pay for the phone bill, they are yours, and that's really important for you to emphasize as a parent. So there's contracts, which are really important. I always had a contract with my teens from way back before they were teens. But can you actually see the screen at your home? So if you're in your home and you're cooking, maybe in your kitchen, and the child is doing homework pretty close to you, can they turn so you can see their screen? Do you sort of see them as you walk up, their face is sort of blue because it's reflecting, and suddenly their face is yellow because they saw you coming and they switched the screen really quick. So do you see those things happening, and then do you walk over and say, okay, let's see all the windows you have open. I want to see them all. Oh no, Mom, no, I can see it because I'm allowed, because I'm your mother, or I'm your father, or I'm your guardian, or I'm your grandma. You will show me. So history is important. When I had a contract with my kids, they couldn't delete their history, and if they did, they lost their device. Again, this was personal devices. I wouldn't take away a school device, but any personal, because the school I trusted to filter, like we do. We filter your students' devices at home. Okay, so even though you might go to a whole nother part of the United States, we're still filtering all the traffic on the iPad from us, just not on personal devices. So when we talk about contracts, one thing that's super important is to, delete that. All right, so when we talk about contracts, you want to consider just going to your favorite website. Again, your favorite web searcher, whatever that is. I'm a big fan of Bing. I find it to be non-biased and be very pure in their information gathering. Also, there's one called DuckDuckGo that's really good. But whatever you like, if you just type in phone contracts for teens, phone contracts for tweens, I would print 5 or 6 of them. This is how I did it. I printed a bunch of them, and we had a family discussion around them. We sat around, we passed them around, we had highlighters and pens, and we said, kids, what do you think is reasonable here? And we would go through and say, oh yeah, and of course one would say, oh, I should be able to delete my history whenever I want. Well, since I'm the parent, I said, no, that one's staying in, circle that one. So they didn't have full veto power, but it was a great discussion because we were talking about trust. We were talking about trust but verify. Like, hey, I do trust you, but every once in a while I'm going to look because I'm doing this for your safety. Because, kids all of us, are only 2 to 3 clicks away from some really nasty stuff on the internet, things you don't want your kids seeing. And so the history, by not letting them delete their history, you are making that decision. So if you ever go on the phone, look at history, and see that it's all gone, that's a problem. Right? And you need to talk to them about that. But on the contract, it also has consequences. If I do this, then this happens. So the great thing about it was, if something was ever broken under that contract, I could just walk in and say, okay, well, the phone's gone for a month. Why? Well, because you made a poor decision. See, it says right here, you broke number 2, and it says if you break any 1 through 6, the consequence is the phone's gone for a month. So you made that decision to lose your phone for a month. You've signed this, right? Because if they won't sign it, they don't get a phone. I mean, we're parenting here, so it's our phone, we pay for it, we get to make these decisions, but we try and do some group decisions in those contracts, right? But I would highly suggest, before you ever give the phone, having a contract. If you've already given a phone and you're like, oh, I want this contract thing, still have these discussions around, let them know this is a move forward. From now on, this is the way the contract works and you need to sign it. And again, not willing to sign, they are your child, you're their guardian. You can take away the phone, turn it off, turn off the service, whatever it is. Like they need to sign the contract. They need to be held accountable to their decisions. Being active more than passive, we talked about this. This is a mission project done on Minecraft. Some teachers allow them to use technology instead of going to the store or buying all the graham crackers to make a mission project. They can actually build it in Minecraft and build something pretty amazing. My son, who loved technology, who was not the best student in the world, he got to do this when he was in 4th grade. This isn't his, but in 4th grade, and this was, again, he's much older now, he got to build it in Minecraft because his teacher had a really open mind and said, yeah, let's do this. This is great. Go for it. And he turned in an amazing project. He built the entire mission, but he built the underneath, he built the Presidio, he had the soldiers, he had the horses, he was feeding the horses. I mean, really put more time into it than he ever would have if he wasn't allowed to utilize technology. So again, technology can be engaging, it can be creative, it checks a lot of boxes. There's always a safety issue we have to consider. So we talked a little bit about like iMovie, iClips, Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark is changing to Adobe Express. So by the time you see this video, it might say Adobe Express instead. But if you look for Adobe Spark, it'll be there. But iMovie and Clips are great ones that you can utilize to make movies. I think I might have said snaps earlier. It's clips, not snaps. I don't know what snaps is, so don't look that one up. But Clips and iMovie are great apps that kids can use. I personally would have my kids document a vacation. So you say something like, okay, students, or not students, children, because they're my children, we're going wherever. We're going to the Grand Canyon. I want you taking pictures. I want you taking some video. And when we're done, I want you to memorialize this vacation and a really cool Clips movie for our family that we can then share to our friends or we can have in the future. So I'm a huge fan of that because it shows them another use for this, another use for that device in their hand. How do I make a movie? You might say, okay, Mr. Davis, we want you to come to our school and show us all how to use Clips. You don't need that. You just go to YouTube. So how would I use Clips or how would I use iMovie? How would I use this stuff on my iPad? Well, the way you do it, honestly, is YouTube. I love YouTube. YouTube is probably the #1 educational website in the world, but there's also some things on YouTube I don't want kids to see, which is why we filter it here at the district. We filter out restricted, we filter out certain levels of what's available on YouTube and what's not to our students. But can they go to YouTube and say, how do I use Clips to make a home movie? And there will be a ton of videos. And I suggest a couple things. One, you want to see highly rated videos, but you also want to see the most recent videos. Because if you look for the most recent, Clips and iMovie change a lot. And they no longer, I mean, back in the day, they would do these big software announcements like, ooh, iMovie 1, iMovie 2, iMovie 3. They don't do that anymore. They just change the software and suddenly there's new buttons or new features or a button is moved somewhere. So just to not frustrate yourself, I personally look for videos that have been released, more recently because that's most likely the version that you want to use because you can see that. So we want to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and information literacy. AI, again, good and bad. AI is the worst it'll ever be right now. And you might be using it saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing. ChatGPT can do all kinds of things. Here's something I like to do as a parent. So I'm going to open. Okay, let's open up ChatGPT here. Okay. And let's say I see my child is reading a book. Keeper of the Lost Cities is a great one. But I don't have time to read a book that's that big, but I want to help engage with my child at dinner. So I might type in something like, let's see, my daughter is reading Keeper of the Lost Cities, first volume. Okay, there's a bunch of them. She is in chapter 4. Can you give me 3 questions to ask at dinner tonight? I would like 1 question about the plot, 1 about the characters, and 1 about the setting. Thank you. I always try and be nice to the AI. So we hit go and we see what happens, right? So in this case, here are 3 questions you can ask. Okay, so I don't need to know, I've never read the book, but in talking with some of the students we've tried this with, they've said, oh, the questions actually are pretty good. Like that would make sense. I'd be able to answer those. And I could say, I didn't tell it what grade level my child is, but I might then say, can you change these questions to be at a 3rd grade reading level? So sure, and you'll see it'll actually change. So instead of what are your first impressions of Fitz, what do you think about fit? So if you have a, so you can sort of judge what is the reading level of my student, and what kind of questions can they understand. Or if I try the first set of questions and they're like, what's an impression, Mom? Either vocabulary lesson time, what is an impression? Or you can actually ask the AI to change that, right? AI has some amazing things here. DALL-E, this is paid, but there's a ton of free ones out there. So I might tell DALL-E, can you make me an image of a unicorn dancing on the moon, juggling purple tomatoes? Why not? Let's see what happens, right? So pretty amazing what AI can do. We don't want this to take away from students' artwork, but there is a sense of creativity here because you have to do the inputs. Okay, so here we go. Here are the images of the unicorn. I hope they capture the magical scene you imagined. So pretty cool. And if I was a student, I could now take this, put it into a presentation I'm doing for school, and attribute it. Image made with artificial intelligence, DALL-E, right? And because we don't want them, it's not like they drew this by hand, but there was a creative moment where they created this. And these are fun things to play with as a family, like, ooh, what can we create? Who can do this, who can do that? If, as parents, I would highly suggest going to twinpics.ai. I'm gonna show you really quick. This is a fun family contest where it gives a picture of the day, and within 100 characters, not 100 words, 100 characters, you have to try and replicate this image over here on the left, which is really cool. And then it gives you like who's done a great job so far and what percentage it is. So you can see this is, people all around the world use this. So as a family, like I text my kids sometimes, hey, got a 92% on Twin Picks today. What did you get? And then they go and do, because they know I expect by the end of the day they'll have tried. Once a week we do this, or we sit around the dinner table and try this, because this is teaching a really good grasp on the English language. So the great thing about this program is it helps you to help your children understand the importance of the English language. Being that they have to look at this picture over here on the left, and they have to say, in 100 characters, how am I going to describe this image and have it come out looking like this? Well, what kind of bird is this? I can't just say a bird. A bird in a rainbow, design a rainbow. Well, there's some swirls there. Well, what kind of colors are those? Is there a color pattern? Is there a theme? Is that a pelican? Is that a hawk? Is that an eagle? Is it a baby? I don't know. So what's really cool is you can then work with your student if you and, or work with your child, sorry. If you and everybody else has done, sort of say, hey, maybe write down what you did, because we want to compare as a family and see, ooh, who did the best one? And then how do we think we could have made it better? And you can check in each day and do another image. So I love these. I think they're great. And it's a great little family activity. Even with my son being off at college now, we'll still do it. We'll still send it in our family group chat. Hey, what percent did you get? And we'll send our pictures to each other. So it's a neat way to really help sharpen focus on the English language by helping AI create an image to match this other one. All right. So AI, again, there's great uses of AI. There's AI can even be used for recipes. My college student uses it all the time. Goes to ChatGPT and says, hey, here's 8 things I have. What would make a good dinner? And it'll spit out recipes. Hey, we think you might like this. Do you like Italian food? It'll even ask questions. So I see AI as a thought partner. I ask it questions a lot. And then there's information literacy. And information literacy, we teach a lot here in the schools. We have it as part of our digital wellness program, is teaching kids how to interact with information, how to not plagiarize, how to look for biases, look for misinformation, how to make sure when you hear something, maybe in the news, that you then check 3 or 4 other sources, just like we all should. Sadly, a lot of these technologies like Google or YouTube or whatnot, if you start searching for certain things, it's going to assume like your political affiliation. It's going to sort of drive you further to the right or further to the left. but it shouldn't. And if you have really good information literacy skills, you can identify when it's happening, or you can identify bias in like a news report, and you can say, gosh, this news report seems like it's using a lot of words that are biased rather than just telling me the information. So it's really important to me that this is taught to our students, and we teach 5 lessons of this from kindergarten through 8th grade to help them really tune in on information literacy. And that's important. That's something that parents, you might want to consider focusing on them as well. Even when you're watching the news at night with them, hey, did you hear what they just said? Does that sound like maybe this reporter is a little biased, or the way they're covering this political event? It almost sounds like that reporter's cheering for this person rather than just telling us exactly what happened. So I'm a huge fan of that, because I feel it's one of the greatest skills you can possibly have is being able to discern information, to know when someone's trying to lead you down a certain path rather than just giving you the facts for you to consider yourself and be a critical thinker around. So there's a book that I like a lot called Digital for Good by Richard Collada. We did a book study on this in my department, and it's really great for parents. It helped inform some of our new responsible use policy that we rewrote this summer. And I would highly suggest it as a parent raising kids in an online world, that you get this and you read it, and maybe even read it with them and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm a big fan, so I just want to throw it out there as a possible book for you to buy as a parent. This is our parent internet safety link. So again, if you're showing this at a PTA meeting or you're watching this at home, you can scan this QR code and keep our internet safety link in. But again, if you just go to our homepage or your school's page, click on Parents, you will always see that internet safety button there and available for you. And we update that a lot. So thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope maybe if you're watching this at home, you've been pausing and doing certain things. It's not the shortest video in the world, so it can be done in chunks very easily and say, ooh, I want to go figure out how to control my kid's phone better. So I'm going to pause it right there. I'm going to go do a little bit of research. Oh, contracts. Yeah, we should have a contract. I'm going to go look online right now and find a few contracts. That's going to be today's meal tonight. We're going to go over contracts, and I'll come back and watch more of the video. Or I went to ChatGPT and I put in some questions to find out, some cool, engaging questions to talk to my student about today. Now I'm going to watch a little more and figure this out. So I hope you've enjoyed the information. Again, if you talk to your principal and you want a parent session, we can come out and do parent sessions, but a lot of it's already been covered here. And one of the reasons we made this video is so this could be watched at home, watched in pieces, and that everybody could be watching it at the same time rather than us trying to go to every school 5, 6, 10 times to, for everybody's Little League or your soccer or your music or whatever classes. We don't always get a ton of parents being able to always come at the same time. So we recorded this video for you. We'll have more videos as we go on different parts of our website, but I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching.